Minho felt the ship shake as another explosion rocked the engine room. Sparks flew from the control panels around him as he tried to fix the damaged systems. The Aurora's dream was dying and everyone on board knew it. "We're going down," Captain Lee shouted over the noise. "All hands prepare for emergency landing." Minho grabbed his medical kit and ran toward the escape pods. The ship was falling fast toward the planet below. Through the small window, he could see a world covered in strange blue forests and silver cities that sparkled like diamonds. The crash was terrible. Metal screamed and twisted as the ship hit the ground. Minho was thrown against the wall so hard that everything went black. When he woke up, his head hurt badly. He was alone in a broken part of the ship, far from where the others had crashed. His medical kit was still with him, which was good. His radio was broken, which was bad. Minho climbed out of the wreckage and looked around. The forest around him was unlike anything on Earth. The trees were tall and thin, with leaves that looked like blue glass. The air was clean but felt different in his lungs. In the distance, he could see smoke rising from where the main ship had crashed. He started walking toward the smoke, but strange sounds made him stop. Someone was crying nearby. The voice sounded like a woman, but it was unlike any human voice he had ever heard. It was musical, like singing, but full of pain. Minho followed the sound deeper into the forest. He found a clearing where 3 figures stood around someone lying on the ground. They were tall and thin, much more than any human. Their skin looked like it was made of clear crystal, and he could see light moving under their skin like water. The 2 standing figures wore silver armor and held weapons that glowed with soft light. They looked like guards. They were watching over someone lying on the ground, and they looked very worried. The person on the ground was clearly dying. She was smaller than the guards, and her crystal skin was turning dark and ugly. Black lines spread across her body like cracks in glass. She was the one making the crying sounds. Minho knew he should be careful. These were aliens, and he had no idea if they were friendly. But he was a doctor, and someone was dying in front of him. He could not just walk away. He stepped into the clearing with his hands up to show he was not dangerous. The 2 guards saw him and pointed their glowing weapons at him. They spoke in their musical language, and they sounded very angry. "I'm a doctor," Minho said slowly. He pointed to his medical kit and then to the dying person. "I want to help." One of the guards, who seemed to be in charge, shook his head and said something sharp. But the other guard looked at the dying person and seemed less sure. The person on the ground was getting worse, and the black lines were spreading faster. Minho moved closer slowly. Now he could see that the dying person was a young woman. Her crystal skin was beautiful even as it turned dark. She had long silver hair and wore clothes made of some kind of glowing fabric. She looked important, maybe like a princess. The woman opened her eyes and looked at Minho. Her eyes were like clear blue water, but they were full of pain. She said something in her musical language. It sounded like she was asking for help. The guard, who seemed less angry, looked at his partner and said something. They argued in their language while the woman got worse. Finally, the angry guard stepped back but kept his weapon ready. Minho knelt next to the woman. He had never seen anything like her condition. The black lines looked like some kind of disease, but it was spreading through her crystal skin in a way that made no sense. His medical training told him this was impossible, but his eyes told him it was real. He put down his medical kit and looked at the woman's face. She was very young, maybe 20 years old. She was trying to say something to him, but she was too weak. Minho knew he had to act fast. Without thinking too much about it, Minho put his hands on the woman's arm where the black lines were thickest. He wanted to check how hot her skin was and see if he could feel her pulse. The moment his skin touched hers, something amazing happened. The black lines under his hands began to fade. The crystal skin became clear again and light began to flow under it like before. The woman stopped making pain sounds and looked at Minho with surprise. The 2 guards made loud noises and stepped closer. They were clearly shocked by what they saw. Minho was shocked too, but he did not take his hands away. Wherever he touched the woman, her skin became healthy again. "What is happening?" Minho said to himself. He moved his hands to other parts of her arm, and the black lines disappeared everywhere he touched. The woman's breathing became easier and color returned to her crystal skin. The guards were talking very fast in their language. They sounded amazed and scared at the same time. One of them spoke into a small device, probably calling for help. Minho kept his hands on the woman's skin. He could feel something flowing from him to her like electricity, but warm and gentle. It felt natural, like something he had always been able to do but never knew about. The woman sat up slowly. She looked at her arms where the black lines had been, then looked at Minho. She said something in her language that sounded like a question. "I don't understand," Minho said. "But you're getting better." The woman put her hand over Minho's hand. Her skin felt warm and smooth, like touching warm glass. She smiled at him, and her smile was the most beautiful thing he had ever seen. More sounds came from the forest. The guard who had called for help pointed toward the trees. More figures were coming, and they were moving fast. The woman said something to Minho and pointed to herself. Then she pointed to him and said something else. She was trying to tell him her name and ask for his name. "Minho," he said, pointing to himself. "My name is Minho," the woman smiled again. "Yuna," she said, pointing to herself. Her voice was like music even when she spoke his language. The sounds from the forest were getting closer. Minho knew that more of these crystal people were coming, and he had no idea what they would do when they found a human touching their princess. But he also knew that he had just discovered something incredible. Somehow his touch could heal this alien disease. He had saved Yuna's life, and nothing would ever be the same. More crystal people came running into the clearing. They wore rich clothes and looked very important. Minho could tell these were not ordinary people. They moved like they were used to being in charge. An older man who was clearly the leader stopped when he saw Yuna sitting up and healthy. His crystal skin was darker than the others, and he wore a crown made of glowing stones. Behind him came a woman who looked like Yuna but older. Her clothes were even more beautiful, and she moved like a queen. These had to be Yuna's parents, the king and queen of these crystal people. Minho felt scared. What would they do to the human who had touched their daughter? Yuna stood up and spoke quickly to her parents in their musical language. She pointed to Minho several times and showed them her arms where the black lines had been. The king and queen looked at Minho with eyes full of surprise. More people arrived. One was an old man wearing robes covered in strange symbols. He had to be some kind of doctor or healer. He looked at Yuna carefully, touching her skin and checking her eyes. He spoke to the king in an excited voice. The doctor then looked at Minho and said something to the king. The king nodded and spoke to the guards. The guards put away their weapons, which made Minho feel a little better. Yuna came over to Minho and took his hand. She led him to her parents and said something that sounded like an introduction. Then she spoke to Minho in his own language, though she had a strong accent. "My father, King Dongyun. My mother, Queen Soman," she said, pointing to each of them. "They want to know how you healed me." Minho looked at the royal family. He felt very small and ordinary next to these beautiful crystal people. "I don't know," he said honestly. "I just touched you and you got better. I've never done anything like that before." Yuna translated for her parents. They talked among themselves for a long time. Finally, the king spoke to Yuna, and she turned back to Minho. "My father says you must come with us to the palace. The doctors need to understand what you did. Many of our people are sick with the same disease that was killing me." Minho felt worried. "What about my friends? My ship crashed, and there are other humans who might be hurt." Yuna spoke to her father again. The king nodded and gave orders to some of the guards. "My father is sending people to find your friends and bring them safely to the palace," Yuna said. They traveled to the palace in vehicles that floated above the ground without making any noise. The palace was the most beautiful building Minho had ever seen. It was made entirely of crystal that changed colors in the light. Tall towers reached toward the sky, and gardens full of glass flowers surrounded everything. Inside the palace, Minho met more of the crystal people. They called themselves the Rilthani, and their world was called Velthara Prime. They had built an amazing civilization with technology that seemed like magic to Minho. But they had a terrible problem. The black disease that had been killing Yuna was spreading through their people. It attacked the royal family first, but now other Rilthani were getting sick. Their doctors could slow the disease but could not cure it. The chief doctor, an old man named Wubin, examined Minho for hours. He used strange devices that glowed and hummed, scanning every part of Minho's body. He was very excited about what he found. "Your body makes a kind of energy that we have never seen before," Dr. Wubin told Minho through Yuna, who was translating. "This energy fights the darkness in our bodies." Minho learned more about the Rilthani. They were very old and had been traveling between stars for thousands of years. Their crystal bodies were beautiful and let them live much longer than humans. They could speak to each other with their minds and had technology that could do almost anything. But their bodies were also very fragile. They could be hurt easily, and they had trouble healing from injuries. Over the centuries, they had relied more and more on their technology to keep them healthy. We think we made ourselves too perfect, Yuna explained to Minho as they walked through the palace gardens. We used technology to make our bodies pure and beautiful, but we lost something important, something that you still have. Minho was fascinated by everything he saw, but he was also worried. How many of your people are sick? He asked. Yuna's face became sad. Many. My brother Taehyung is very sick. 3 of my cousins are so sick that we had to freeze them to keep them alive. If we cannot find a cure soon, the royal family will die, and our people will have no leaders. That evening, Minho met some of the palace officials. Most of them were curious about the human, but some seemed angry. A man named Lord Jinwoo was clearly upset that an alien had been allowed to touch the princess. This creature could be dangerous, Lord Jinwoo said to the king during dinner. We know nothing about his people. How do we know he did not cause the disease in the first place? Yuna translated for Minho, and he felt angry. I saved her life, he said. I would never hurt anyone. But Minho could see that some of the real Thani were afraid of him. He was so different from them. His body was thick and strong, while theirs were thin and delicate. His skin was solid, while theirs was clear. He was loud and emotional, while they were quiet and controlled. Later that night, Yuna came to visit Minho in his guest room. She brought news that made him happy and worried at the same time. My father's people found your friends, she said. They are safe, but some are hurt. Your ship's doctor, a woman named Yoonji, is very interested in our medicine. She wants to help find a cure for our disease. That's good, Minho said. But what about the people who don't trust me? Lord Jinwoo seems to think I'm dangerous. Yuna looked sad. Some of our people have never seen aliens before. They are scared. And Lord Jinwoo has his own reasons for not wanting me to get better. What do you mean? If I die and my brother dies, Lord Jinwoo's family would be next in line to rule. He has been waiting for this chance for a long time. Minho felt a chill. He was not just a doctor trying to help sick people. He was now part of a political game that he did not understand. There is something else, Yuna said quietly. Our spies have learned that an enemy called the Korthak Dominion knows about our sickness. They are planning to attack us while we are weak. They think we cannot fight back if our leaders are dead. Minho looked out the window at the beautiful crystal city. How long do we have? Maybe a few weeks. Maybe less. Yuna took his hand. Her crystal skin felt warm and smooth. You are our only hope, Minho. You can heal us, but we need to work fast. Minho squeezed her hand gently. He thought about his simple life on Earth, where the biggest problem was fixing broken equipment. Now he was responsible for saving an entire alien civilization. But when he looked at Yuna's beautiful face and saw the hope in her crystal blue eyes, he knew he had to try. Whatever power he had discovered, he would use it to help these people, even if it meant risking everything. Minho stood in the great hall of the palace, facing dozens of Rilthani leaders. They all looked at him with curious and worried eyes. King Dongyun sat on his crystal throne with Queen Somin beside him. Princess Yuna stood near Minho, ready to translate his words. The human wants to make an alliance with us, announced a woman named Senator Hyemin. She was the leader of the Rilthani Council, and she clearly did not like humans. He says his people can help us fight our enemies. Minho had spent the past week learning about Rilthani politics. It was complicated and full of people who did not agree with each other. Some wanted to work with humans, but many thought humans were too primitive and dangerous. I have seen what the human can do, King Donghyun said to the council. He healed my daughter when our best doctors could not. Perhaps we should listen to what he has to say. Senator Hyemin shook her head. Your Majesty, we have built our civilization over thousands of years. We have knowledge and technology that these humans cannot even understand. Why should we ask for help from creatures who have barely learned to travel between stars? Minho felt frustrated, but he tried to stay calm. We may not have your technology, he said, but we have something you need. We can fight the disease that is killing your people. One human touched one person, Lord Jinwoo said from his seat in the council. How do we know this will work for everyone? How do we know it is even safe? Yuna translated quickly, and Minho could see she was getting angry with Lord Jinwoo. But before she could speak, Dr. Wubin stood up. I have studied the human for many days, the old doctor said. His body produces an energy that strengthens life itself. This energy is what our people lost long ago when we became too dependent on our machines. That is exactly the problem, Senator Hyeman replied. We became civilized. We left behind the crude and violent ways of organic life. Do we really want to go backward? Minho was starting to understand the real problem. The Rilthani thought they were better than humans because they had advanced technology and beautiful crystal bodies. They did not want to admit that they needed help from people they saw as primitive. My brother is dying, Yuna said suddenly. Prince Taehyung gets worse every day. 3 of my cousins are frozen in crystal chambers, barely alive. Are we going to let them die because we are too proud to accept help? The hall became quiet. Everyone knew that the royal family was running out of time. The black disease was spreading, and soon there would be no leaders left to guide the Rilthani people. King Donghyun stood up slowly. Bring Prince Taehyung to the hall, he ordered. Guards left and returned carrying a young man on a floating bed. Prince Taehyung looked much worse than Yuna had been when Minho first found her. The black lines covered most of his crystal skin and he was barely breathing. His eyes were closed and he did not respond when people spoke to him. If the human can heal my son, King Donghyun said, then we will know his power is real. Minho walked over to Prince Taehyung. The young prince looked so sick that Minho was not sure his healing power would be enough. But he had to try. He placed his hands on Prince Taehyung's chest and concentrated. At first, nothing happened. The black lines stayed dark and the prince did not move. Minho began to worry that his power only worked sometimes. Then he felt it, the warm energy flowing from his hands into the prince's body. The crystal skin under his hands began to clear, and the black lines started to fade. Prince Taehyung took a deeper breath than another. The people in the hall watched in amazement as Minho moved his hands over the prince's body. Everywhere he touched, the disease disappeared. After 10 minutes, Prince Taehyung opened his eyes and sat up. Sister? He said weakly, looking at Yuna. Yuna ran to her brother and hugged him carefully. There were tears in her crystal blue eyes. You are safe now, she said. The council members looked at each other in shock. Even Senator Hyeman seemed impressed, though she tried not to show it. This is remarkable, Dr. Wubin said. The human's power is even stronger than we thought. But Lord Jinwoo did not look happy. How do we know this is not some kind of trick, he asked. Maybe the human caused the disease and now he is pretending to cure it. Before anyone could answer, alarms began ringing throughout the palace. Guards ran into the hall with urgent messages for the king. Your Majesty, one guard said, our scouts report that Korthak ships are gathering at the edge of our space. The invasion is beginning. The hall filled with worried voices. The Korthak Dominion was a cruel empire that conquered other worlds and enslaved their people. Everyone knew that the Rilthani military was not strong enough to stop them, especially with so many leaders sick or dead. How long do we have? King Donghyun asked. Maybe 1 week, Your Majesty. Their main fleet is still gathering, but advanced ships are already attacking our outer colonies. Minho felt a cold fear in his stomach. He thought about his friends from the Aurora's dream. Dr. Yoonji, Engineer Jae-hyun, and Security Officer Minji were somewhere in the palace. But they were still weak from the crash. This changes everything, Senator Hyeman said. We cannot worry about alliances now. We must prepare for war. But we need the alliance more than ever, Yuna argued. The human has proven he can heal our people. If we can cure the royal family and our military leaders, we might have a chance against the Korthak. King Donghyun thought for a long moment. How many of your people have this healing power? He asked Minho. Minho shook his head. I don't know. I never knew I had it until I touched your daughter. Maybe all humans have it, or maybe just some of us. We need to find out quickly, the king said. Guards, bring the other humans here immediately. While they waited, Lord Jinwoo approached Minho. You have put us in a very dangerous position, he said quietly. The Korthak learned about our weakness because someone told them. There are spies among us. Minho felt worried. Are you saying I'm a spy? I am saying that your arrival here is very convenient timing. First our people get sick, then you appear with a cure, and now our enemies attack. Lord Jinwoo's crystal eyes were cold and suspicious. When Minho's friends arrived, they looked amazed by the palace. Dr. Yoonji was excited about the Rilthani medical technology. Engineer Jae-hyun was fascinated by how their machines worked. Security Officer Minji was checking for possible threats. Minho, Dr. Yoonji said, these people have incredible knowledge about biology, but they say you can do something that even their technology cannot do. Minho quickly explained what had happened. His friends looked surprised but not as shocked as he had expected. Actually, that makes sense, Dr. Yunji said thoughtfully. I've been studying Rilthani biology. They've used technology to make their bodies perfect, but they've lost touch with basic life energy. Humans still have that energy because we're younger as a species. Can you do it too? Yuna asked Dr. Yunji. Dr. Yunji looked nervous. I can try. They brought one of the sick cousins out of the crystal chamber. The young woman was barely alive, her skin completely black with the disease. Dr. Yunji placed her hands on the woman's arm and concentrated. For a moment, nothing happened. Then slowly the black lines began to fade under Dr. Yunji's hands. The sick woman began to breathe better. It works, Prince Taehyung said excitedly. More humans can do it. But when Engineer Jaehyun and Security Officer Minji tried, nothing happened. They did not have the healing power. So some humans have it and some do not, Dr. Wubin observed. This is very interesting. Before they could learn more, another alarm rang. This time, the guards brought terrible news. Your Majesty, the Korthak have landed troops on the planet's surface. They are attacking the capital city and... The guard looked nervous. Someone has poisoned the water supply in the palace. Many people are getting sick. Minho felt the world spinning around him. Just when they had found hope, everything was falling apart. The enemy was here, and someone inside the palace was working with them. Lord Jinwoo stepped forward. I suggest we put the humans in protective custody until we can be sure they are not involved in this attack. But Yuna drew her sword, a beautiful crystal blade that glowed with inner light. The humans stay with me, she said firmly. They are our allies and we need them now more than ever. Minho looked at the chaos around him. War had come to this beautiful world and he was right in the middle of it. But he also knew that his healing power might be the only thing that could save both the Rilthani and his own people. The real fight was just beginning. The sky above the crystal city turned dark with enemy ships. Minho watched from the palace windows as the Korthak Dominion began their attack. Their ships were ugly and black like giant insects made of metal. They moved fast and fired weapons that made the air burn. The Rilthani ships rose to meet them. They were beautiful, shaped like flowers made of silver and crystal. But there were not enough of them and they were built for exploration, not war. The Korthak ships destroyed them easily. We have to get to the healing chambers, Yuna said urgently. More of our people are getting sick from the poison, and the Royal Guard commanders are too weak to lead the defense. Minho, Dr. Yunji, and the others followed Yuna through the palace halls. Everywhere they went, they saw Rilthani people lying on the floor, sick from the poisoned water. Some were unconscious and others were crying in pain. This is not the same disease, Dr. Yunji said, examining one of the victims. This is something different. Something that works much faster. Engineer Jaehyun looked at the water pipes in the walls. If someone poisoned the water system, they had to have access to the main controls. That means the spy is someone who works in the palace. Security Officer Minji was checking doors and windows for enemies. We're not safe here, she said. The Korthak will be inside the palace soon. We need to find another place to work. Yuna led them deeper into the palace to underground rooms that most people did not know about. Here the royal family kept their most secret healing chambers. The walls were covered with crystals that glowed with soft light, and the air felt clean and pure. My cousins are here, Yuna said, showing them 3 crystal beds where young Rilthani lay frozen in time. If we can wake them up and heal them, they can help lead our military. But when Minho tried to touch the first cousin, nothing happened. The healing power that had worked so well before was gone. He tried again and again, but the sick person did not get better. I don't understand, Minho said, feeling scared. It's not working. Dr. Yunji tried too, but she also could not heal anyone. Something is wrong with us, she said. The power is gone. Above them, they could hear explosions getting closer. The Korthak were fighting their way through the palace guards. Soon they would reach the underground chambers. Wait, Dr. Yunji said suddenly. What if the poison is affecting us too? What if it stops our healing power? Security Officer Minji checked their water bottles. We've been drinking the same water as everyone else. If there's poison in the water system, we have it in our bodies too. Then we need to get the poison out, Yuna said. She ran to a control panel and began typing quickly. The healing chambers can clean toxins from the blood. It might restore your power. The cleaning process was painful. Minho felt like electricity was running through his whole body. But after a few minutes, the feeling stopped and he felt stronger than before. He tried again to heal Yuna's cousin. This time his hands glowed with warm light, and the frozen person began to wake up. "It works," he said. They worked quickly to heal and wake up all three cousins. The young Rilthani were confused at first, but when they understood the situation, they immediately began making plans to fight back. "The Korthak are using ground troops with cybernetic implants," one cousin explained. "Their technology makes them very strong and fast. Our weapons barely hurt them, but maybe our healing power can help," Minho said. "If it can cure disease, maybe it can disrupt their machines too." Dr. Yunji looked excited. "That's brilliant. The same energy that heals organic life might damage artificial systems." They decided to test this idea. Security Officer Minji had found a Korthak soldier who was trapped under fallen stones. The soldier was still alive but could not move. His body was half organic and half machine, with metal parts covering his arms and face. Minho carefully touched the soldier's cybernetic arm. Immediately, sparks flew from the metal parts and the soldier screamed in pain. The machine parts stopped working, and the organic parts of his body began to heal from old wounds. The human energy destroys the cybernetics but helps the organic parts, Dr. Yunji observed. "This could be our weapon against the Korthak." They made a plan. The healed cousins would lead small groups of Rilthani soldiers through the palace. When they found Korthak troops, Minho and Dr. Yunji would disable their cybernetic implants while the Rilthani soldiers captured them, but they also had a bigger problem. Lord Jinwu was missing, and so were several other palace officials. Either they had run away or they were working with the enemy. "We need to find the real spy," Yuna said. "Someone told the Korthak exactly when to attack and how to poison our water." As if summoned by her words, Lord Jinwu appeared in the chamber doorway. But he was not alone. Behind him came a woman in Korthak armor and several Korthak soldiers with glowing red eyes. "Princess Yuna," Lord Jinwu said with a cold smile. "Meet Commander Yojin. She has been my partner in this operation for many months." Commander Yojin removed her helmet, showing a face that was partly Rilthani and partly machine. She had been one of their own people, but the Korthak had turned her into something else. "I was born on this world," Commander Yojin said in the musical Rilthani language. "But your people threw me away when I was injured in an accident. The Korthak saved me and made me strong." "You betrayed your own species," Yuna said angrily. "I chose the winning side," Commander Yojin replied. "The Rilthani are weak and dying. The Korthak are strong and growing. Soon they will rule the galaxy." Lord Jinwu stepped forward. "The humans will come with us. The Korthak are very interested in their healing abilities. They want to study them and learn how to use that power for themselves." "Never," Minho said. "We won't help you hurt innocent people." "You don't have a choice," Commander Yojin said. She raised her weapon, which glowed with deadly energy. But before she could fire, Security Officer Minji threw a crystal from the wall at the weapon. The crystal hit the weapon and made it explode in Commander Yojin's hands. "Run!" Yuna shouted. They scattered in different directions. Minho and Dr. Yunji followed Yuna through secret passages that only the royal family knew. Engineer Jaehyun and Security Officer Minji went with one of the cousins to try to reach the communication center. As they ran, Minho could hear fighting all through the palace. The Rilthani guards were brave, but they were losing. The Korthak soldiers were too strong and had too many weapons. "There's one more place we can go," Yuna said as they reached a heavy door made of pure crystal, the royal sanctuary. "It's protected by energy shields that even Korthak weapons cannot break." Inside the sanctuary, they found King Dongyun and Queen Somin. The king was badly hurt, and the queen was trying to take care of him. Prince Taehyung was there too, but he looked sick again. "The poison," King Dongyun said weakly. "Lord Jinwu gave us something to drink before the attack. He said it would protect us, but it was poison." Minho quickly began healing the king while Dr. Yunji worked on Prince Taehyung. As they worked, Queen Somin told them what was happening in the rest of the city. "The Korthak control most of the capital now," she said. "Our people are fleeing to the mountains, but there are not enough ships to evacuate everyone. We are losing this war." Just then a new sound filled the air. It was different from the Korthak weapons, cleaner and stronger. Through the crystal walls they could see new ships arriving in the sky. "Human ships," Dr. Yunji said excitedly. "Earth must have sent a rescue fleet." The human ships were smaller than the Korthak vessels, but they moved faster and their weapons were more accurate. They began attacking the Korthak ships with surprising success. "How are they winning?" Yuna asked. "I thought the Korthak were supposed to be unbeatable." Minho watched the battle and suddenly understood. The human crews. If some humans have the healing power, then they can probably disrupt the Korthak ships just by touching their control systems. It was true. The human ships were getting close to the Korthak vessels and sending boarding parties. When humans with the healing power touched Korthak technology, it stopped working properly. But the battle was not over yet. Commander Yojin and Lord Jinwoo were still in the palace, and they had captured Engineer Jaehyun and Security Officer Minji. If Minho wanted to save his friends and help win the war, he would have to face the traitors directly, and he was not sure his healing power would be enough to stop them. The battle in the sky was turning. More human ships arrived every hour, and their strange power over Korthak technology was winning the fight. But inside the palace, Minho knew his friends were in terrible danger. "We have to save Jaehyun and Minji," he told Yuna as they watched the battle from the royal sanctuary. "It's too dangerous," King Donghyun said. He was feeling better after Minho's healing, but he was still weak. "Lord Jinwoo and Commander Yojin have many soldiers with them. But they also have our friends," Dr. Yunji said. "And if the Korthak learn how human healing power works, they might find a way to use it for evil." Yuna touched her crystal sword. "My father is right that it's dangerous. But Minho is also right that we cannot leave our allies behind." Prince Taehyung, now healthy again, stepped forward. "I will come with you. The palace guards who are still alive will follow me." They made a plan. The human ships in the sky would attack the main Korthak forces and keep them busy. Meanwhile, Minho's team would sneak through the palace and rescue the prisoners. Queen Somin gave them special crystals that would protect them from Korthak weapons for a short time. "These will only work for 1 hour," she warned. "After that, you will be as vulnerable as anyone else." They crept through the damaged palace halls. Many beautiful crystal walls were broken, and the floors were covered with pieces of shattered artwork. The war had destroyed so much beauty in just one day. They found Lord Jinwoo and Commander Yojin in the great hall where the council used to meet. Jaehyun and Minji were tied to crystal pillars, and Korthak soldiers stood guard around them. Lord Jinwoo was speaking into a communication device. "Yes, we have 2 of the humans," he was saying. "We will bring them to your laboratory ship so you can study their abilities." Commander Yojin was examining a strange machine that looked like it was designed to hurt people. "Once we understand how their healing power works, we can reverse it. Imagine weapons that could spread death instead of life." Minho felt sick. The idea of his healing gift being turned into something that could kill people was horrible. "We attack now," Yuna whispered, "before they can hurt our friends." Prince Taehyung and his guards charged into the hall, shouting battle cries in the musical Rilthani language. The Korthak soldiers turned to fight them, but the protective crystals made the Rilthani weapons much stronger than usual. Minho and Dr. Yunji ran toward their friends, while Yuna fought her way toward Lord Jinwoo. The traitor pulled out a crystal blade like Yuna's, and they began a sword fight that was both beautiful and deadly. "Minho," Jaehyun called out. "Be careful. They have a machine that can copy your healing power." Dr. Yunji reached Minji first and began untying her ropes, but Commander Yojin saw what they were doing and ran toward them with her cybernetic weapons glowing. Minho stepped in front of Commander Yojin and grabbed her cybernetic arm. Immediately, sparks flew everywhere as her artificial parts began to fail. She screamed in pain and anger. "You are destroying me," she cried. "I'm giving you back what you lost," Minho said. He kept his hands on her cybernetic parts, and slowly they crumbled away. Underneath, her original Rilthani skin began to appear, healthy and clear. Commander Yojin fell to the ground as her cybernetic enhancements failed completely. For the first time in years, she was fully organic again. She looked at her crystal skin in amazement. I remember," she said softly. "I remember what it felt like to be alive." While Minho was dealing with Commander Yojin, Yuna had cornered Lord Jinwoo. The traitor's sword was broken and he was backed against a crystal wall. "You have destroyed everything," he shouted at her. "The Rilthani could have ruled the galaxy with Korthak help. Now we will all be slaves to these primitive humans." "The humans are not our masters," Yuna said calmly. "They are our friends, and friends help each other." Before Lord Jinwoo could reply, the crystal wall behind him exploded. A human soldier in Earth armor came through the hole, followed by several others. "Admiral Sungho, Earth Defense Force. the soldier announced. We're here to help evacuate any remaining civilians. The admiral looked around the damaged hall and saw Minho healing Commander Yojin. So the reports were true. Some of our people really can do that. How many humans have this power? Dr. Yunji asked. About 1 in 10, as far as we can tell. We're still learning about it ourselves. Admiral Sungho looked at the ongoing space battle through the broken crystal dome above them. But it's definitely turning the tide of this war. Korthak ships just stopped working when our boarding parties touched their control systems. The fighting in the palace was ending. Most of the Korthak soldiers had either been captured or had fled. Lord Jinwu was taken prisoner, but he kept shouting that the humans would eventually betray the Rilthani just like everyone else. Commander Yojin was different. Without her cybernetic parts, she seemed to remember who she had been before the Korthak changed her. She asked to speak to King Dongyan to beg for forgiveness. Over the next few days, the situation became clear. The Korthak Dominion had been defeated, but they had done a lot of damage. Many Rilthani cities were destroyed and thousands of people were dead or missing. But something wonderful was also happening. Humans and Rilthani were working together to rebuild, and they were discovering that they could help each other in many ways. The Rilthani had amazing technology and knowledge that could solve many of Earth's problems. They could teach humans how to travel faster between stars and how to build cities that were in harmony with nature. The humans had the life energy that the Rilthani had lost. Not just the healing power, but also creativity, adaptability, and the ability to find new solutions to old problems. We think this is how the galaxy was supposed to work, Dr. Wubin explained to Minho and his friends. Different species helping each other instead of fighting or trying to be superior. King Dongyan formally announced the alliance between Earth and the Rilthani Empire. Princess Yuna was put in charge of building the new partnership and she asked Minho to be her advisor. But I'm just a medic, Minho said. I don't know anything about diplomacy or politics. You know about healing, Yuna replied. And that's what our two species need to do. Heal from the damage we've done to ourselves and each other. They established healing centers throughout Rilthani space, where humans and Rilthani worked together to cure diseases and injuries that neither species could handle alone. They also started schools where young people from both species could learn from each other. Minho found that his healing power was getting stronger as he learned more about how it worked. He could now cure diseases that had been considered impossible to treat. But more importantly, he was teaching other humans how to develop their own healing abilities. Dr. Yunji became the director of the new Biological Cooperation Institute, where scientists from both species studied the connection between life energy and technology. She discovered that many alien species throughout the galaxy had lost their natural life force over the centuries. It's not just the Rilthani, she explained to Minho as they watched ships from a dozen different worlds arrive at the new Cooperation Center. Almost every advanced civilization has the same problem. They become so dependent on technology that they forget how to connect with life itself. Engineer Jae-hyun and Security Officer Minji became the first humans to serve in the Rilthani Royal Guard. They helped design new ships that combined human adaptability with Rilthani elegance. Even Commander Yojin found a new purpose. With her cybernetic parts removed and her natural crystal skin restored, she became a teacher who helped other victims of Korthak experiments return to their original species. I spent so many years hating what I was, she told Minho during one of their conversations. The Korthak convinced me that being weak and organic was shameful. But now I understand that being connected to life is the most precious thing in the universe. As the months passed, Minho and Yuna grew closer. They were from different species and different worlds, but they shared something deeper, the desire to heal and help others. One evening, as they walked through the new gardens that combined earth plants with Rilthani crystals, Yuna took Minho's hand. Do you think we did the right thing? She asked. Bringing our species together like this? Minho looked at the children playing nearby, some human, some Rilthani, and some from other species that had joined the alliance. They were laughing and learning from each other, creating something new and beautiful. I think we're just getting started, he said. Above them, the stars seemed brighter than ever before. The galaxy was vast and full of dangers, but it was also full of possibilities. For the first time in centuries, different species were working together instead of fighting each other, and, at the center of it all, was a simple truth that Minho had discovered. when he first touched a dying alien. Princess, sometimes the greatest power is not the ability to destroy, but the ability to heal. The touch that had saved one life had changed the entire galaxy, and this was only the beginning of what they could accomplish together.